He was the only one in the building that night. Just another employee working the night shift. Sweeping the marble floors others walked over without ever seeing him. But when the billionaire owner's alarm blared, it all changed. Within minutes, security had him surrounded, flashlights in his face, voices accusing, hearts already certain. He tried to tell them, but no one listened. Because sometimes, your skin color says more than your words ever could. What would happen next would make more than a miscommunication. It would unveil the truth about who's actually seen, and who never is. For Marcus, nights were dark, routine, nearly reassuring. He'd been a janitor at the Sterling Towers for close to 8 years, sweeping the same gleaming halls in which the city's elite cut their deals. None of them ever knew his name. To them, he was just background, efficient, invisible, reliable. He did not care. The work was enough to pay the bills, to get his daughter through college, and to provide his mother's medicines on time. Each night, he came early, worked diligently, and departed silently. That was the beat of his life. Steady, lowly, secure. But recently, something had been different. A new security system, tighter checks, whispered speculations regarding stolen goods. Marcus sensed the tension, but he remained concentrated, confident that honesty and routine rang out above suspicion. That evening, as he buffed the marble floors of the executive wing, the building seemed quieter than normal. The billionaire owner, Richard Sterling, had departed several hours earlier, or at least, Marcus had believed so. The tick of the clock sounded down the deserted corridor, a hum that he'd always found soothing, until the alarm sounded. In a moment, the tranquility of his daily routine was destroyed. Red lights flashed, doors automatically locked, and Marcus was caught with the mop handle still clutched in his hand. He didn't know it then, but all his hard work, all the years of loyalty, forbearance, and dignity was going to be put on trial in a manner he could not have imagined. The alarm continued to ring through the deserted corridors, shrill, relentless, as if it was blaming him. Marcus felt bewildered. He'd been mopping by the lobby when the red lights started flashing, making strange shadows dance on the glass walls. He hadn't touched anything. He hadn't even ventured past his assigned floor. Yet, the noise persisted. And then the voices, footsteps, crackling radios, security guards storming in, bellowing orders he couldn't even make out. Marcus put up his hands automatically, his mop falling to the ground. "Don't move!" one of them barked, hand on his gun. He stood there, transfixed. His heart thumped in his ears as they closed in on him, eyes narrowed, motions practiced. They didn't see Marcus, the man who'd swept these corridors for almost 10 years. They saw only a suspect, a silhouette under the harsh glow of fluorescent lights. They began to interrogate him, where he had been, what he had touched, why he was there late. He attempted to tell them, his voice shaking, but it didn't make a difference. The instant they saw his brown face and the janitor's attire, the script was already written in their minds. One of them said into his radio, "We got him." Got him. 2 words that made his gut twist. Marcus stood by as they approached the office doors, Sterling's own suite. The alarm light above it flashed wildly. Within, a small glass case lay open on the desk, in pieces. A rare, collectible watch was gone, worth more than Marcus would earn in an entire lifetime. And like that, the accusation hit its target. Security tape was called up. Monitors flickered to life on screens in the control room, where Marcus walked from corridor to corridor as part of his evening rounds. But someone had altered the timestamps, loops of film, missing seconds. Each frame seemed to be conspiring against him. He continued to protest there must have been a miscommunications, that he hadn't even approached the office. But the guards weren't having it. They summoned Sterling. In a matter of minutes, the billionaire himself arrived. Expensive jacket, serene face, the sort of man who never needed to yell to exert control. He regarded Marcus for a moment, face impassive. "Is this the man?" he whispered. "Yes, sir," the guard answered. "Found close to the scene." Marcus attempted to say something, but Sterling's stare shut him up. It wasn't rage in his eyes, it was something worse. Judgment. The room was silent except for the alarm still flashing red on Marcus's face. Each second seemed heavier, as if the air was pushing against him. He remembered his daughter, how proud she'd been when he'd landed this job, how she'd said, "Dad, this is the kind of place where people will finally see how hard you work." Now all they saw was a suspect. One guard reached for his arm. Another began photographing the scene. And for the first time in years, Marcus felt truly powerless. Standing in the same building he'd helped keep spotless, treated like a criminal in the place he'd built his life around. But just as they were leading him out, he noticed something. A tiny security camera in the corner, its light blinking steadily. Not connected to the main system, something Sterling had installed on his own. Marcus said nothing. But way deep in his mind, a thought started flashing through his fear. Maybe, just maybe, the truth was still hidden somewhere on those tapes. He just had to last long enough for someone to look. Marcus sat in the dark security room, wrists cuffed, heart pounding. The guards had ceased to question him. They were simply waiting now, for the police, for the word from Sterling, for the tale that they'd already concluded was true. On the screen in front of him, the rolling video played repeatedly. His movement down the hallway, the lost seconds, the impeccable facade of guilt. He needed to yell, but weariness was upon him like a brute. Then Sterling came in. Serene, stoic, the sort of man who believed truth was for sale or obituary. He looked at Marcus and the monitors. "You had a good run," he said softly. "It's a shame, really." Marcus stared back, fiery eyes. "I didn't take anything." Sterling just stood there. He turned to the head guard. "Get the tape sent to the police." As they came to close everything down, one of the younger guards paused. "Sir, there's one other feed," he said, his brow furrowed. "From about backup camera." Sterling came to a halt. "What feed?" The screen flashed and there it was. The secret camera in the executive office, the one Marcus had spotted. The tape rolled. Sterling's aide, sneaking into the office after hours, opening the display case, the glass breaking, the watch disappearing into his pocket. Silence wrapped around the room. All eyes snapped around, from the screen to Marcus to Sterling. No one said a word for a second. Then Marcus took a slow, quivering breath, tears burning in his eyes. Relief and shame tangled up until he could hardly catch his breath. Sterling's face hardened. "Turn that off!" he spat. But it was too late. The lie had toppled under its own weight. Marcus stood, wrists still cuffed, but standing taller than ever before. "You saw what you wanted to see," he whispered, "and it nearly cost me everything." Marcus Time. The billionaire didn't answer. He merely turned his head, almost as if turning and meeting Marcus's gaze meant confronting something much more hideous within himself. The cuffs were unlocked. The metal clicked open, sounding through the room like a judge's sentence. Marcus did not wait for an apology. He simply walked out, silent, steadfast, leaving the man with power but without dignity. For at that moment, the truth had finally been revealed. And it was blinding. Marcus never returned to Sterling Towers after that evening. He couldn't. The office that had previously been solid and secure now reverberated with the sound of sirens, accusatory glances, and metal cuffs. The firm quietly expunged his record. No press statement, no apology, only a signed document hidden in HR documents. The assistant who had swiped the watch was dismissed, but not prosecuted. Connections have a habit of diluting punishment. Marcus returned home to his daughter, who opened the door with tears in her eyes. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. She just held him, tighter than she ever had before. In the days that passed, news spread, through whispers, through statuses, through individuals who had witnessed the video. Some labeled it a miscommunication. Others referred to it as what it was, a reminder that regardless of how honest, how diligent, or how kind a man could be, his complexion could still render him suspect before he could utter a word. Marcus didn't seek revenge. He sought something more elusive, acknowledgement, the sort that doesn't wane when the anger dies down or the headlines shift. Weeks later, he got another job in a small community center. He earned less, but he earned more respect. And whenever he waxed those floors, he remembered all the behind-the-scenes people, quiet, decent men and women who labor in the back rooms of authority, who are only heard of when something has gone astray. He hadn't merely gotten away with an accusation, he'd revealed a truth millions already suspected, but too many still didn't want to acknowledge. Because the narrative of racism isn't composed in soaring speeches or headline news. It's written in minutes such as these, in suppositions, in complicity, in how justice curves for some and snaps for others. Marcus's life continued, but the question remained, as dense as ever. How many more innocent souls are going to be embarrassed before we begin to trust them? Before we begin to notice them? Without prejudice's veil of preconception.